He actually had an older brother that he never met, who died in infancy in 1928. Balco is north of St. Joe, Missouri, and at that time had 350 residents and was something of a farming community. So when Dad was almost 10 years old, the family moved to Denver in May of 1939, as Verl had an offer of employment at this place called Hart's Corner that you all know about. The older Millers worked various positions there, and for a while lived in 3 of the cottages. Dad said they lived in 3 of them. One was like the kitchen and where they ate, and one was the living room, and then they'd go next door at night to the next one, and is the bedroom. Well, Dad enjoyed being a kid, exploring the area, and just living in a kind of a really cool place. He enjoyed ice skating on a pond that was only about a block from where I live now. I moved to 5420 Morrison Road, saw the construction of a basement house where the family lived while the main house is being finished upstairs. The process took a while, as he still didn't have an upstairs bedroom, and Dad said he really never did. He never had a bedroom when he graduated from high school, and Dad said that he never did have a bedroom upstairs. It was always downstairs, and they finished the house while they were gone. Well, senior trip right after we graduated from high school. Okay, yeah. So senior trip right after graduation was one of the highlights of his life. When most of the class boarded a school bus and headed out for a trip to California. So imagine going all the way to California in May and stopping in Phoenix and Yuma, Arizona in an on-air-conditioned bus. And Dad said that was when they were in LA. That was the first time you actually saw a TV in the store windows. The first time you actually saw a real TV. Well, another highlight of his life was when he met Imogen Eberhardt on the blind date on March 26, 1950. Well, things obviously worked out because they were married on April 25th, 1951. And I won't repeat the story, but you all know the story. Well, just a few weeks later, Dad had actually enlisted in the Colorado Air National Guard in October of 1950, and just a few weeks after they were married, he was activated into the Air Force, and his Air National Guard squad was activated into the Air Force on May, just a couple weeks after they were married. By June, he was headed to Rapid City, South Dakota, and Emma followed later, and Vicki followed after that. So by 1953, the new family was in Denver, and he was honorably discharged in October of 1953. I grabbed my wrong glasses, these are a little too strong. So they stayed in Denver the rest of their lives. And so in our previous meeting, I went through all of our the whole lineup of where we worked, lived, and all that stuff, and we kind of unfortunately covered that just shortly ago. So Dad worked for the Singer Sewing Machine Company, Gates Rubber Company. He installed TV antennas, drove a truck for Dolly Madison Ice Cream, worked for Mark Marietta, Honeywell, owned with Mom, Hart's Corner Hardware, and then after that he delved in real estate and some other ventures. Well, having caddied in high school at Green Gables Country Club, in high school, and also a couple tournaments at Cherry Hills Village that we passed. Dad enjoyed perfecting his game over the years. Golf leagues at his different workplaces gave him that opportunity. And after he stopped playing, he actually enjoyed volunteering at the International Golf Tournament in Castle Pines for many years. I think almost 20. I think he got a jacket for 10 or 20 years. Well, you all know that I like cars. I like cars and I like dogs. When I came across my love of cars, honestly, his dad also appreciated cars and trucks. In fact, I sat down the other night, and from memory, I was going to do my corny thing with the folded papers, but we've seen that. Anyway, so I made a list from memory and came up with 30 vehicles that I remembered that he owned in his life. 30 cars. So you think I'm bad.
He didn't keep them all.
Well, this is true. He had a wife to tell him to get rid of stuff. So that encompassed 8 Chevys, 2 Fords, 2 Olds, 2 Mercurys, 2 Plymouths, 2 Dodges, 3 VWs, 2 Buicks, Pontiac, a Volvo, a Saturn, and a Winnebago. So some of my best memories of my life are actually going with Dad to the dealers to look at the new cars, and that's back when, you know, the new line of cars was something. It didn't look like, you know, the last 10 years. Every year they would a lot of times cover up the windows until the day they went out, and so I had a lot of good times with Dad doing that. I used to enjoy, while he was out looking at the used cars and the Chevy station wagons, I was cruising a lot looking at T-Birds and Lincolns and Buick Electras and Rivieras and going, "Hey Dad, this T-Bird's a pretty cool car." And he'd say, "Yeah, it is, but we're going with the station wagon." And Dad taught us to drive. He was very patient with us. Don't even think he said anything the time that he probably saw me taking the Chevy station wagon out one Sunday morning when I was folding my papers, and I was about 14, and I backed the station wagon out of the garage so I could fold my papers, and then it would kind of go out the driveway and end up out in the street, and the only way I could get it back in the garage was, of course, to go up to the high school and cruise around the parking lot and then come back. And I know Dad saw me do that, but he never said anything. So Dad was with me when I bought a couple of my cars. He was with me when I bought my truck and my Buick, and now I guess I got another truck and Buick. Thanks, Dad. So today we're here to remember Verlyn as a son, husband, father, grandfather, and friend, and we're all better for knowing him.
I was going to, I decided to try to read my writing.
It's just totally surreal to be doing this just 18 days after Mom. Dad just couldn't live without Mom any longer. So growing up, Dad did the dad thing. He went to work, came home, dinner was ready, ate dinner, read the paper, and watched TV. Dad loved to play golf on Saturday. Sunday was spent at church in the morning. Dinner at one of the grandparents' house on Sunday afternoon. Then we'd all watch The Wonderful World on Disney.
Grandma's color TV.
On TV in the evening. Dad taught me how to swim. I never did become a good swimmer. He took me to the golf course with him once to caddy. I did not carry his clubs, just walked the course with him. He took some business classes at night for a while, and I went with him to one. He taught me to drive, and then he taught me to drive a stick shift in my little VW, which was really pretty easy. Then he taught me how to change a tire, like I was ever going to really do that. I would watch baseball and football on TV with Dad. He told me that Gary thanked him once for raising a daughter that likes sports. One of my earliest and longest memories of Dad was looking at the back of his head from the back seat of the car. I always seemed to be on that side of the car behind him. When we were in the car a lot, especially on family vacations. When Dad worked at Honeywell and Martin, he got 2 weeks off around the 4th of July, and we took a vacation. We camped a lot when we were young, which is why now, to me, camping is a Holiday Inn, not a tent. We went to places like Rocky Mountain National Park, Yellowstone, and the sand dunes. It always rained on our tent, and we always woke up to flat air mattresses. But we enjoyed being outside, and we always enjoyed going to the ranger talks wherever we were. We rented a trailer one year and went to Canada. We visited Calgary, Banff, and Lake Louise. I have no idea how they planned all of that vacation without the internet. The last big family vacation we took was to California, and it was a motel vacation, finally. Mom and Dad really loved taking our vacations and being with us kids. Of course, when us kids were out of the house, they bought a motorhome for the spoiled, rotten granddaughters. Papa's how they loved taking the girls on trips with them. Shuttling Dad back and forth to the hospital to see Mom. Dad and I had a lot of time to talk. And we talked a lot about when his family moved to Denver from Missouri, going to Bear Creek High School, and his senior trip. I guess I never knew what a social butterfly Dad was. He talked to everyone, total strangers at Costco and King Soopers. He always had to tell one of his tattoo jokes. And he always told everyone at the hospital and Sunrise his story of how he and Mom met. It was a great story of his life. He had many, many corny stories and jokes though. Through all our lives, the one thing all of us kids always knew, that we were cared for and loved by our Mom and Dad.